Hey, I want to welcome you back to Pastoral Apologetics, and in this edition, we're continuing this series in what is this book of the Bible about. And today I want to talk about what the book of Numbers is about. It's called the book of Numbers because Israel is counted twice throughout the book. Now, most of the book is narrative, talking about what happened to the children of Israel, how they get to the promised land, and how they end up wandering in the desert for the better part of 4 decades. Now, the trip should have taken about 13 months. And they get to the edge of the promised land, and it's unbelief that keeps them out. And some of my favorite stories in the Old Testament are in the book of Numbers, but most of this book is simply a death march, waiting for an older generation to die so that the younger generation, led by Joshua, could go into the promised land. Now, there's a couple things that I want to mention as we talk about the book of Numbers. And one is a little more historical, and the other has to do a little bit with eschatology and end times and whatnot. But when the tabernacle is built and the instructions for the tabernacle are given in the middle to late chapters of the book of Exodus. Of course, from chapters 37 to 40 is when the tabernacle is constructed. But once the tabernacle is built, God divides the 12 tribes into 4 groups. Each group is going to have 3 tribes, and then the group with the largest, each group will be named after the largest tribe. So you have 3 tribes which are mentioned on the east side of the tabernacle: Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, and that is named as Judah. And Judah's banner was a lion, right? Jesus is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And so the second group, which is on the west side, is Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin. Ephraim is the largest, and so the banner is a calf or an ox. The one on the group on the south is Reuben, Simeon, and Gad. Reuben was the largest, and his banner was the face of a man. And then on the north side, it was the 3 tribes were Dan, Naphtali, and Asher. Dan was the largest, and his banner was an eagle. Now, you say, like, why are you telling me this? Why is this important? Because everything in the tabernacle was supposed to be a picture of heaven. Now, let me read this to you from the book of Revelation, chapter 4. It says, "Before the throne there was a sea of glass, like crystal. In the midst of the throne and around the throne were 4 living creatures, full of eyes, front and back. The first living creature was like a lion. The second living creature was like a calf. The third living creature had the face of a man, and the fourth living creature was like a flying eagle. The 4 living creatures, having 6 wings, full of eyes around and within, they do not rest day or night, saying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come." So even the picture of the tabernacle in the wilderness is giving us these banners, which is showing us a picture of heaven. Now, the other thing I want to talk about in the book of Numbers is what happens when the children of Israel arrive at the promised land in Numbers chapter 13. Now remember, the children of Israel leave Egypt. It takes them about 40 days to get to Mount Sinai. They end up spending the better part of a year at Mount Sinai between the commands that they're given, the golden calf incident, the instructions for the tabernacle, and then, of course, the construction of the tabernacle. It takes them essentially another year to get from Mount Sinai to a city called Kadesh Barnea, which is just outside of the promised land. 12 spies go in, they see giants, they're filled with fear, and they want to go back to Egypt. God pronounces judgment on that generation that they wouldn't go into the land, but their children, who they thought were going to get wiped out by the giants that were there, they're the ones who are going to go in. And as I mentioned earlier, there's this 38-year death march waiting for that generation to pass until there is a new generation under the leadership of Joshua. And then Joshua, in the early chapters of the book of Joshua, goes in and takes in the land. And so much of Numbers is narrative. It is about speaking of the rebellion of the children of Israel, the complaining of the children of Israel, the questioning of Moses' leadership. But Numbers is a book of missed opportunities. But even in the midst of their rebellion, we get one of the most beautiful prophecies of the Messiah given in chapter 24 by an unlikely person, a guy named Balaam, who is a prophet for hire. But he says this in Numbers 24:17, I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star will come out of Jacob, a scepter will arise out of Israel. And we experience that every Christmas when we talk about the wise men, the star that appears, and the child who had been born. So, hope this has been helpful to you. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, keep reading.